When it comes to going ahead and training athleticism at 60 plus, I think one of the setups that you have to go ahead and start getting comfortable with is the hip attached setup. You can do it two ways. You can go ahead and use a single band setup attachment. This will work fine for a lot of exercises, but just keep in mind, you only have 2 yards of stretch distance with this. If you want to go ahead and have more stretch resistance variability, you want to go ahead and do a linked up band system where I go ahead and use a link strap to hook 2 similar sized bands together. This will allow me 4 yards of movement capability. It'll also create a more resistance friendly setup. So either one is fine, but for discussion's sake and video sake, you're going to see me go ahead and use just a single attachment. I kept the yellow band on so that you could go ahead and see it attached to my hips so you can get a better visual on it. But understand this, a yellow super microband is super light. So make sure that you're not using a super microband and overstretching it a lot because it's not as a durable of a band. This hip attached setup is a very powerful setup in that you're going to see that you activate your strongest muscles of your body when using it. That said, let's go ahead now and let's get into how this simple hip attached setup can build athleticism. The third reason that the band hip attached setup helps you to create athleticism is it frees up your hands. So now you can go ahead and you can strength train your lower body and your hands are free. Well, why is it important to have your hands free? Well, first and foremost, let's say you struggle with balance when you go ahead and you do a reverse lunge overhead reach or just a simple reverse lunge. Well, you can go ahead and use the wall as an added balance. And so now you can go ahead and do your reverse lunge safely with an additional point of contact for balance. Second reason it opens up your hands is you can bring them in as secondary movements. You already saw me do an overhead reach with my reverse lunge. I could also go ahead and do a simple reach with my reverse lunge, or as you've seen me do in the past, doing rhythmical reaches. You could go ahead and turn sideways, and now my hands are free to go ahead and do a simple lunge or squat lunge towards the side so I can bring my hands in. I can go ahead, put myself in an assisted split squat position and drop down and learn how to go ahead and do an overhead press split squat because my hands are free. Which brings me to the third reason to have your hands free. You can bring in an additional load in. So now if you want to go ahead and do your split squat with an additional load facing away or turning around and doing your split squat with the weight here, and now you can go ahead and create an additional load. You can place it in different positions to challenge you to go ahead and bring in more of a gravity dominated load. So that's 3 reasons to use the hip attachment and why it's important because of it freeing up your hands. First way that the hip attachment is going to build athleticism, it's going to simply put you on your feet. Athletes perform on their feet. And by putting you on your feet and forcing you to go ahead and train on your feet, you get all the benefits of training athletically immediately. One of those key benefits is actually the second reason you want to use the hip attachment, and that is the hip attachment is going to place the band at your hip crease, which is immediately going to teach you how to hip hinge automatically. As the band pulls back on your hips, and let's just say you're doing a simple reach movement, you're immediately going to learn how to go ahead and hinge at your hips. Why do I want to hinge? Because that's how I'm going to go ahead and activate my glutes, my butt muscles, the most important and most powerful muscles in our body. They're also the key muscles that you need to have in place and have strong when it comes to becoming more athletic. You know that. You know as an athlete, their glutes and their power center, their glutes and their trunk are going to be the key to their ability to move in an aggressive manner in multiple directions, in multiple planes. And therefore, the hip attachment is automatically going to train your glutes because it's going to force you to have to learn how to hip hinge.